All right, guys. So I'm going to talk about. We've gotten a lot of information about it, about this upcoming event, and yeah, I figured now would be a good time to finally give my thoughts on Fall of X. Fall of X is what I guess you could call the inevitability, like the thing we've kind of been waiting for to happen in the X-Men comics. Essentially, like we've been more or less waiting to see the end of this era of X-Men for a while, not by choice, but more like we knew this was going to happen. Like we knew at some point the fall of the X-Men was going to happen in some capacity or another. It was like Thanos says, "I am inevitable," and this was certainly Fall of X was certainly inevitable. Now, this is going to be treated not just as an X-Men event, but apparently as a big Marvel Universe event. And yeah. Now, I have known people who loved the Krakoa era, and I've known people who hated the Krakoa era. Where I personally stand on the whole where do I stand on the whole Krakoa era of X-Men? I personally stand on the fact that I personally stand on I like it, but I admit that there are some flaws with it. Like not every X title was perfect. I will say that like it was the Krakoa era. Say what you want, regardless. It put X-Men back on the map in comics. Like, yeah, remember the times where where like everyone was like, oh, why don't we have big X-Men stuff anymore? And then when the X-Men and Fantastic Four came back after, the Fox reacquisition, everyone was like, fuck them Inhumans, let's bring the mutants back. And Jonathan Hickman brought back the X-Men in a big way. So even if you don't like the Krakoa era, you have to admit that the Krakoa era kick-started a new era of X-Men comics. It started off this new, bold new era for the X-Men universe, and you can't fault it for that. You really can't fault it for, something of that degree. It kicked off that era. So yeah. And I gotta say, I'm surprised that the Fall of X is happening now. Well, actually, I'm not surprised. I'm surprised it lasted as long as it has. It started in 2018, 2019. So we had a good 5 years of Krakoa, which actually I think it lasted longer than the Utopia era of X-Men. And yeah, that's kind of like that's always been the problem, the curse of the X-Men is that they can never be happy, because God forbid we have happy characters in comics. Like, what else can I say? Like, the idea of characters being happy in comics is unfun, and also like. It's also, at the same time, I know people are like, well, you brought in characters like Sinister and Apocalypse to live among you. Of course this was going to backfire. And no shit. So, End of X is going to be a big event, and we're already seeing the seeds of it in, like, not just X-Men books, but also in other Marvel books. We know that one of the big villains from Orchid is now an Iron Man villain, and we are getting an Iron Man X-Men story. We're also getting a story involving Ghost Rider and Wolverine leading into the fall of the X-Men. And it does bring up the question of, now that we know that mutants can be, that the world knows that the mutants can be resurrected, how long until they figure out it's the Five, and what will happen to them? Like, what will happen to them? And how many... And we've had, like, literally every X-Men character come back. So it always stands to reason of what will happen to them. I mean, what mutants will survive this? Like, I kind of imagine we're probably going to see a lot of characters get hurt. Like, or not make it at all. That's something we have to kind of mentally brace ourselves for, is that this is obviously not going to end well. Let's be real. There is in no way, shape, or form that this is going to end well, and it's gonna get ugly. Like, it's just gonna be ugly, and we know that not every X-Men is gonna make it out okay. I mean, yeah, death is power napping in comics, as I always say, but I got a feeling that this is going to be just ugly. I do hope at some point that we get an X-Men book at some point where someone points out the obvious, because this is what always bothered, and I know, like, sometimes you just need to relax and not think about the logic in comics, but I want someone in future X-Men books to go, when they talked about, because I've seen, like, internment camps and concentration camps for mutants, and I want, and maybe I've just never read it, because I haven't read every single comic known to man, but I would love to have a comic where someone goes, hey, do you think we're being Nazis about this? And they're like, no, they're mutants, they're not human. I'm like, yeah, but, like, we're kind of dehumanizing a class of people and murdering them and causing mass genocide. Do you... Are we not... Are we like the Nazis? No, we're totally not the... No, I think we are. Like, I want, like, common people to be like, you know... I want someone, like, be like, are we the bad guys? Because that's the thing, like, there's no, like, human villain in the X-Men books that stops and goes, oh, I feel like we're doing something that very evil people in the 40s did, so I kind of feel awful. So, but I've never seen that, maybe because, like, that takes away like, as a writer, that takes away, like, the whole point of, like, conflict. But I just want that to go, like, I want that to be a thing at some point. And maybe it has been, I just never saw it. But anyway. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of the Fall of X? I know some of you, and I know someone, a few people in the comments are going, I'm so happy the Krakoa era's gone. I get it. Every time I bring up X-Men books, and you know who you are, you crow about it. So I'm like, okay, here's your Schadenfreude moment. So yeah. But I want to get your genuine thoughts. What do you guys think of the end of the Krakoa era, the upcoming end of the Krakoa era in X-Men? Are you guys excited? Are you guys not? And are you guys hoping for just a good, like, X-Men story? Just comment below, let me know. Once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.